and then bringing you through some of the best practices for diversity and management, as well as some of the pitfalls we should be avoiding. And thirdly, we'll look at some great DEI initiatives before we have, I think, about 10 minutes for the discussion. Now, let's begin. What comes to mind when I'm asking you, what do you think is the secret sauce, the essential tools for DEI success? Type your answers in the chat now. It doesn't matter if you're not sure, this is a safe learning space. What do you think is some of the essential tools that you use in your DEI work? Or if you're not working directly 100% on DEI, then what do you think are some of the essential tools? Communication, that's great. There's going to be a few more of these slides where you just have to put yourself out there and guess. Remember, this is a learning session. You're not expected to have all the answers. Okay, so communication, yes, that's very important. Trust, leadership support, I would say that also, sensitization. And it's interesting how you're all looking at the soft skills. I'm going to look at the tools. What are the hard tools? And so in terms of the hard tools, you need 5 things. First of all, you need a maturity model. And the maturity model is so that your organization knows where it is and where it is going, which stage or which level is it going for. You are not able to see the screen? Sorry. Are you all seeing the screen? Just to check. Oh, you are not seeing any. You're not seeing any projection. Okay. Let me just switch this around. Sorry, I thought that you were all looking at the screen. 1 minute. Are you seeing yourselves then? Thank you. Here. No wonder. Now you can see the screen? Yes, great, thank you. Okay, so maturity model. And the diagnosis is the second thing. You need to know what to do. The third would be a framework. You need to align how things will be done in the company and what is the accountability from your leadership. Fourth, you need a roadmap because you need to know what needs to be done, when things will be done, what the resources that's required. Then fifth, you need execution excellence to refine and continuously improve the way you do things. We are now going to look at 1, 2, 4 to understand what they are. Unfortunately, we don't have time to cover everything in a short hour. There is actually a 2 to 3 day training that trains DEI practitioners if you are interested in that. So what we have here is the maturity models. We reviewed the top DEI maturity models from global consultancy firms before coming up with our own. Over here, you have the ones from Deloitte, PwC, Korn Ferry, and Bain and Company. So let's look at the Dignity's DEI maturity model. In stage 1, what you have is the organization is doing DEI just for compliance. So it's just to make sure that they're not sued, they don't get any bills from the government, and they manage diversity as a legal and regulatory requirement. In stage 2, the organization meets the diversity requirements of its employees and shareholders, so it's considered a diversified organization. So for example, if the employees, there's a certain expectation with Gen Z and also the millennials nowadays that the company needs to do something about diversity and inclusion, then the company does just that to meet their expectations. In stage 3, you have what we call an innovative organization. The organization is actually leveraging on the diversity of its people for better business performance and for innovation. In stage 4, the company reaches and becomes an impactful organization. The organization externalizes its impact into its supply chain, its ecosystem, and also the broader societies that it is part of. Now a question. If you type in the chat again, where do you think your organization is in this maturity model? Does it have some DEI activities? If DEI activities, it is at least a stage 2. 4th stage, wow. Poonam, we need you to be sharing some of your company's best practices over at this call. Poonam, you still can't see the screen. Or now you can see the screen.
They unmuted, I think we can talk.
Yeah, maybe can we unmute all the participants so that they can chip in whenever they need to? Thank you.
Participants are being given access.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, you can see the screen. Okay, let's move on.
So I wanted to share with you here that we are definitely impacting people's lives in our organization. We have a lot of DEI going on, and I'm a big part of that because I'm looking after impact sourcing, and we have a lot of people with different which fits into different kind of categories, and we are making definitely we'll have more of them, and we're definitely trying to do our bit.
Thank you, Poonam.
I take my hands right, yeah. Thank you.
That also explains it. Okay, so to begin, we also need a diagnosis or analysis. So Poonam, you might already be familiar with some of this. And you need an analysis on state of health of DI in your company. This is what you need to kick off, but it also is done on a regular basis to actually measure where you are. And it requires you to have as complete a view as possible of all DEI-related data. So if your responsibility is for the whole company, you'll be looking at HR metrics, minority metrics, HR artifacts such as your policies, your public reports, other related policies, and incident reports, and also as well as your company's diversity commitments. What are you looking for? You'll be looking for what are the inequalities between general staff and minority staff, where are your employee engagement gaps, pay equity gaps, your advancement gaps, retention gaps, as well as employment safety issues that might be caused by some unhealthy cultural practices. If your responsibility is a specific function such as recruiting, you'll be looking at related data such as job ads, job site, recruitment policy, recruitment channels. So what you are looking at is different, but what you're looking for would be very similar. And here's a schematic of a roadmap. Now, let's say that you've done the diagnosis, you've looked at the data, you've looked at the analysis, you've identified your gaps. What's next? What's next is that with the diagnosis, you have understood your employees as stakeholders. You now need to understand your other stakeholders, such as your shareholders and the executive management. You need to establish what's the maximum good or the targeted social impact that the management is able to support. And in step 2, you establish your true north for DEI. What this means is that you have your vision, and in some companies you have your purpose rather than your vision, and you have your mission, and you have your values. In step 3, you develop the DEI strategy. This requires a combination of strategies on how you will bring your organization from current to the targeted end state, let's say if it's stage 4. You need to be clear about what initiatives you are using to address the problems and the opportunities. Is it going to be L&D? Is it going to be talent development programs? Is it a committee of practice? What about your rewards? What about compensation? What are you doing about external partnerships? What about dialogues with leaders? There are many levers that you can use, and you'll need a combination of these. The magic in DI is in crafting the right programs to provide the mind and heart-opening experiences. In step 4, you step into operations. This is the setting up of your DEI operations, the securing and the training of your resources. And with your DI operations team, you then need to plan your communications drumbeat to engage the rest of the organization. You need to set up what you will use to capture the data and feedback, and how you will deliver on the accountability measures that is part of your DI framework. And in step 5 is adjusting your tactics on the ground to make things work, reviewing what you've done to see how does your strategy need any adjustment. And steps 3 to 5 is a repeated loop that you'll have to keep monitoring and improving. Now let's look at some best practices. Now what comes to mind? So this was what was supposed to appear on your screen just now. What does success in DEI mean to you? What does it look like? Type your answers in the chat. Poonam, feel free to just unmute yourself and say if that's easier for you, and anybody else who might be on a mobile phone.
So when you do that, I would like to say my DI success will look like a good composition in the work or in operations where there's equity for there's a place for everybody, right? Because that is what right now in my position I'm trying to strive to have at least 10% of people with disability to be placed with the main organization, to be in the mainstream, and looking at all the kinds of training they need to be fit into the roles that they can execute. So my DI will be, it will be a very wholesome thing, wherein we are doing not just about disability, but women, and even upscaling people on their skill sets. And even one of the things that we just started is, we are trying to get more women into position holders. We are actually opening doors. If you feel you're capable, then please nominate yourself for the next role. So we just started that campaign now.
Great, thank you, Poonam. Thank you for sharing. And Juhi says, I've typed in some so that it's easier for the rest to refer as well. And Juhi says a wide range of expertise. Yes, and just picking up on what Poonam said, it is generally a culture where people feel that there is inclusion and belonging. Diverse culture, as Juhi mentioned, yes, there's a wide range of diversity and therefore expertise. Some of the diversity you can see, some of the diversity is skills-based, and other dimensions that are not visible, including neurodiversity. And generally, a successful culture of DI is where there's great and safe employee relationships. People are happy working there, they don't want to leave, right? And there's improved business results as an outcome. And there's successful new business ventures, the business metrics are up. And here's another question, interactive discussion. What do you think are performative actions in DEI? And just to give a quick explanation, if people are unfamiliar with this term, performative is something that, as the term suggests, you are just performing it. You don't really buy into DEI. You're just doing it because it looks like everybody else is doing it. So what are some of the type of performative actions, pitfalls that we need to avoid? Training program without follow-up. Thank you, Rajani. I'm going to start clicking off some so that you can see. Tokenism, that's another one. Just getting people to fill your quota, whether it's for a person with disabilities or gender or anything. Starting and not pursuing the initiative, thank you. Superficial social media support, such as, okay, that's the social media news. Everybody, in the big one globally was Black Lives Matter, right? And in India right now, there's also, I identify as a trans man. So in India right now, there is a lot of movement regarding trans rights and trans support and access to jobs for the trans community as well. And you'll find a lot of people saying the support, but then where is the action? What are you actually doing to help? Diversity hires without inclusion, and that is a little bit of what Rashni was saying about starting but not pursuing. You started, you hired in, but then you are not including them. So Poonam, I'm glad to hear that you are putting the things in place after you bring them in. There's a continued support. Or you just do once a year training, right? You take the check.